something.
What's the board's pleasure on that one? You want to wait till the end and then make a decision? What's the fine?
I'll have to look that up again. It's typically something like $100 a day. I'm just bringing it up
I would wait
now,
till the
so.
end and then.
Oh yeah, I'd always let it run out.
Oh.
Yeah, we let it run out.
But
But
sometimes
you probably need to send them a
stop running
letter.
2 more weeks and 2 more weeks.
I would say maybe just reaching out to him, giving him a letter, letting him know the timeline's coming up. Because then the next time we meet, if he's in violation, then it's going to clock starts ticking. So it's just kind of nice to put him on, be proactive and send a letter saying, you have this much time, and then if you don't.
I usually have face-to-face or phone conversations.
Yeah.
But
And yeah, usually I would just still follow up written, just based on our conversation. We have until this date. We need those supports, otherwise he's in violation. So cool. Anything else for Kip?
Run quick.
Have a good evening.
Good.
Thank you.
Bring up Dana.
Sure. Dana, you want to come up?
Oh, I'd love to.
It's really fun to be here. Thanks for having me on the agenda tonight. I'm here mainly to get some information and direction and some help in trying to figure out how to get through a situation I'm in. I've got to sell the land that I have over on Crawley Falls Road, or at least raise enough capital to pay off the debt. And I wanted to see what you were open to and a couple of different things. So the first thing I wanted to find out is it was designated town center. I don't know if anybody was on the planning board here when they did that or not, but does anyone know what they intended when they did designated town center? What was it intended?
I wish Mark was here so I could ask him.
What was it? It was.
I think they were talking about the overall plan for the town. I'm trying to remember, it was a 25-year plan. I don't remember.
Is that in the town center?
Yeah, and
Is that
this
the
is
field
what,
you're talking
It
about, the
is?
field?
yeah, and this is what my question was. And I look at the town, and if I was looking at the town planning, I'd probably do the same thing. But there's no restriction for putting houses up and so on. Right now, if the land was sold, somebody could come in, fill with houses, and then there's no town center anymore. It's kind of a gesture more than a plan. So I didn't know what limitations that would have on me trying to raise capital through the sale of land or developing the land myself. So I kind of came up with a few options for me, and is to sell the land entirely, which I don't want to do. I know that I could go to a builder, and I know about how many lots they could fit on it now from talking to some real estate.
Donate it for the new police station.
Well, this is part of why I'm here. The second thing that I'd like to do would be to sell off enough to get capital to pay the note. I would love to retire in Brentwood and have little tiny cottages around that property and make them look beautiful and rent them. Right now, they're renting these things all over New Hampshire with wheels on them.
The tiny house.
Is that
The
in
tiny
South- is that in
houses.
Southampton?
This
Is that
this
what's
one
South-
here is in I forget. That's a little further up north. This is in Epsom.
I'm just thinking of it.
And they've got 20 and 30 of these things, and their
Yeah.
occupancy rate is 80% during the week and 100% on weekends. And they look like hell.
I'm sure you know what kind
And they're on wheels, and there's no tax revenue from these things. So I wanted to do something along the lines of some nice little cottages. You can pass these around if you want. Something aesthetically valuable. You look in the woods and see a little log cabin, and I don't want them to be as big. Something that 2 people can live in it.
That's cute, yeah.
2 people can live in it. Their rent would be relatively inexpensive, $200 a week per person. We don't have any place for people to stay that are coming into the area really temporarily in a nice place. The motel up the road, I won't say any names. I don't think I'd stay at somebody's place. Sorry. But we don't have anything like that. And these things, if it came to the point where the town wanted to have it, we could pick them up, stick them in a truck, and haul them the heck out of there. I mean, it wouldn't be somebody's McMansion that we gotta move. Ideally, that's what I'd like to do, because I could put a little place, I could have breakfast, cook breakfast, and play cards at night, and people could cross-country ski from town all over the trails up there. There's 38 acres. So I would have it open for people in town, a place for them to park, walk their dog, go skiing, just go out in the woods and walk around for most of it. But I'd have...
Is that the piece of land between Fralix and Dion?
Yeah, and down behind the cell tower. I kind of walked it the other day, and I plotted out in my mind where these would go, and I would start them out like a horseshoe in the back side of the field, and put maybe 5 in, get them occupied, put 5 more and get them occupied. I don't know where the break-even point on it all is, but a lot of it would depend on what the taxation was going to be on it too, what the current use impact is there impact fees on it. I'd have to have support from the town, from the people and the board to be able to do it. I would not want to try and do this and fight an uphill battle to try and get it done. So that's why I'm here. I've talked to Kathy a few times. I talked to the town planner. He told me to come down and see you. So that's why I'm here today, is on his recommendation to come and talk about it. So I like open space. I don't have to sell it. The cell tower is not bringing enough money for me to continue to do anything. I'm trying to borrow against it, and I don't know if it's going to happen. But it's something I can do. I think it would be good for the town. That's my second option. My third option, which is not my desired option, but it's certainly an option that it doesn't bring me any future revenue, but there's 38 acres there for $100 a year. For 5 years, the town can own it for each house. That's what I figured out tax-wise. About 1,800 homes, $100 a year. I could hold paper, and it would be low interest rate, no bonds. That would be something else. If the town's interested in buying the land for this future plan. It's not a lot of money per household. It's certainly not what we're going to spend for an elementary school, or whatever that was, that middle school over there. But it's an option I want to offer to the town first. If it's something you guys want to consider doing, obviously there's a lot of thought goes behind it. But I wanted to see what you're open to. Do you want to just have another? I mean, the last guy was going to want to buy it. He wanted to put units of 20, apartments in each one, all around the field. I don't want to drive by and look at that. So there's a few things that could happen, and I can't do anything without some kind of support or guidance from the planning board. So that's why I'm here, to open up your minds and see if you could think about what you might want to do with regard to those things. Would you be opposed to having the cottages, or does the town center plan override all of it?
That's where I want to touch base with the planning board to see.
To me, it's a planning board issue.
That's where I gotta, I'd want to touch base with Bruce. You're on the plan, right?
Yeah.
When's your next meeting?
16th. So this is an off week.
It's a
We could public
planning
hearing on
board
the
issue.
16th.
I'm not sure why
They have
the town planner said come to the board.
Yes,
so-
it should be the planning board. He can take a look up the
What-
town center regs and told you about it.
What did the planner tell you about the?
Well, the variance specifically stated, and I don't know if it was always this way, or since they designated the town center, that cottages are not allowed.
Because there's a minimum square footage.
It's
Minimum square footage is 120 square feet.
700.
right, and not even if I put them up for that, they wouldn't let me, because they'd have to be zoned in 2 acres and it'd have to fall under residential rule.
You'd have
And
to get a
I
zoning
couldn't
change.
afford to do it because the taxes would be too high. I want to maintain it in an open campus. I want to have a gate out front. You have to have a good credit credential to get into one of these things. I want it short-term, long-term. Somebody comes up for 6 months from Florida that would be here in the summertime. I want to be able to have those cabins open. Somebody wants to come up for a weekend out of Boston, then a few would be like that. We have a handicapped child that I would like to put in one of them. So there's a lot of different things. if somebody's somewhat functional and they don't want a big house and they're elderly, I wanna have these things all handicap equipped and they're all one floor. You know, the services are all there, the fire department's here.
So would you just put like a big septic system in?
I
for
would
all
put
of
in
it, or-
probably, I would have to talk to Bob's one of some other guys I know. I would combine 2 or 3 into the same system, and the same with the well. Certainly plenty of drainage over there, it's not an issue, plenty of land to put the well. But I don't know, I wouldn't wanna have a ton of these things, I don't wanna work that hard.
You could almost look at an upscale campground.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, it's just popping to me like 3
Right.
ponds. but
Replace
just-
3 ponds and have a.
But again, it's.
It's a planning board's
To me,
purview.
the planning board should have told you what,
And then as far as the, you know, selling it to the town or having us pay a thing, that I think would fall under conservation.
Yeah.
So it's
But then
kind
you're
of,
gonna, then you're not gonna be able to build your fire department in the middle of it, you do that.
well, we already have fire, so we're good.
Well, whatever you do.
As far as the police station, yeah, it just depends on, you know, that's still a process that we're going through.
You can talk to the police committee and.
Yeah, because they can see what the budgets and stuff would allow, so I'm not sure how that would work. And then there's, I would assume they'd have to touch base with town council to see how they enter into something like that.
But I have to go through town meeting.
we would have to go to town meeting.
But
Yeah.
when is the next police building meeting?
September, yeah, I think the first,
I was gonna
I think
do
it's gonna be
GoFundMe,
like
but I don't know
September
if it'll
3rd or
work.
10th.
GoFundMe.
Yeah, it's gonna be like September 3rd or 10th.
10,000 people, give $100.
How much land's a PD looking for the bill? How much do they want? How big of a piece? I don't know.
They don't need
Depends on what
38
they're,
acres.
No,
right now
I
they're
think
still
they
doing a
don't.
study to see how big of a
These
station
are
they need,
The
so
2 lots.
they would need something to tell them what the needs are and the projections. At this point, that's UNH, and I think there's another college up in Vermont that's doing those studies.
The backland is got wet areas in it, but then it has like nice big dry areas in it.
Yeah,
How's it look out there? You walk it yet? It looks pretty good. I had it logged last year.
they had it all along, now I can see way out to the road.
I know, beautiful. It's beautiful. Right back to the old stone
No,
wall.
I don't want,
Is this where he is?
These 2 parcels.
I don't understand them all, I don't need any more. I just keep passing them on.
oh,
Sure.
Yeah.
Nice sharing.
6 acres.
So I need, if I'm gonna go forward with the cottages, if that works out, I need to sit down and nail down a lot of numbers for a bank.
you need to go to the planning board first and get them to,
Tell you if the variance is
tell you what you need
plausible,
to do.
Right.
You don't want these in,
cause they gotta tell
you
you
need to go
whether
to,
or not
it's the
you.
planning board, it's got,
And it should be like the town center with the rules and regs, I'll tell you what you can put on there.
Yeah, I've read that, or Kathy gave me all that
Okay.
stuff.
So will cabins fit?
No,
Or they won't fit?
no.
you'd have to get a zoning change.
But I think it happened
Well,
when they
good luck with that.
designated the town center. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back through the historical zoning. I don't even know
Somebody
if
should
it's a
make
thing.
up an amendment to get rid of the town center, because it's not really town center. When they did that, I thought it was,
And the commercial is shooting that place at the corner too because of that, you can't do anything.
right, that
Nothing
town
really.
center should be, that was back when people were, I mean, that's my opinion. Someone should do an amendment, zoning ordinance to get rid of it.
How long's it been in effect? When was it done?
I don't remember.
It's been 20 years?
15?
It's been less than I
No,
owned
it's
it,
not
so
20 years.
No, I don't think it's 20 years.
it wasn't there when I bought it.
No, when was Mrs.
Oh, wasn't when you bought it?
French in
Oh,
town?
really?
No, they never sent me a letter.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's been under 10 years.
Yeah, I don't think it's been more than 10
Doesn't
years.
make sense when around is there.
So how far down does it go? Does it go just to your place or does it go
I think it
further?
goes all the way to the Youngs.
So your tower's not in it then?
Maybe halfway through the field. I'd have to look at it, but it's enough that it
So they
definitely.
got the gymnasium and all that is in it, probably.
I think it is
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I think, the best plan is, touch base with the planning board and,
Yeah, I don't know why
Conservation
he's saying
first.
before,
and
he
police.
should've sent it.
Yeah, and then the PD, you can touch base with Chief Archeri or David Roy, just to see.
We don't wanna buy a piece of, you subdivide and sell a piece of the town.
I would,
to PD.
I would be happy to, especially if I can do some of this.
I don't know how big
I would
it's
love a
gonna be.
police station right around the corner, you know, that'd be great. Keep
Nice
all-
access, but it's a 125, and it's a nice spot.
I don't have to get up and go beat anybody up.
Right.
Then you can have a bunch of little holding cells.
That's right, that's right. Classy little
Workshops.
I like it. Some will have bars.
We'll have
Some people will like that though. It's a detox center.
detox center.
We'll put you away for a weekend if I'm not a new person. So that's my little dog and pony show, I guess.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what, I would recommend probably hitting up the planning board first, because they're gonna be able to talk to you about the zoning and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
surprised that
we
they
should-
actually referred you when we're here first.
And that has to be at the next meeting, September.
Yeah, there'll be some-
Planning board? We have to talk to Kathy.
Oh, all right.
Next Thursday.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Thursday,
it's not like a
You
long.
just sell the town.
So it's next Thursday.
Okay, well
Whatever
that,
piece, some
that's
piece.
good. I
And
have to,
then they can get you on the schedule for the meeting, and kind of similar to what you did here. Kathy will put you on their schedule, and then they can kind of email everything over to everyone that's on the board, so they can look at it. And then they'll have a bunch of questions and stuff for you if that's.
We don't sell that, how much, you know.
And then they'll also have Glenn. He'll be here also. He's at the planning boards all the time, so they can get some input from Glenn of where do we go from here. I know when you put the cell tower in, that was one of the things that came up before the planning board. So
no, I know, they were very gracious to let me get that in, but they haven't put enough carriers on it yet. So I have to do this.
yeah.
That's my phone. Thank
Oh,
you.
that's good.
Well, he just wanted to make sure the tower works.
Great. You want T-Mobile?
No, I have Verizon.
If your carrier's not on,
Good thing you didn't
you
use
take the
person.
I
phone.
have Verizon.
Look, she has no signal. She can't get
Well,
the phone.
then I'll talk to Kathy about getting on the island.
Yeah.
I think it means the 16th, August,
What time do you meet? 7?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
You get the public hearing on Prescott Road, but don't mean you can't slide you around. I call her to find out, see if you get on the agenda.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you all for your time.
All right, yeah, thank you.
appreciate
And then next time, we can please get a frontal shot and chin.
Or you can always
Come
stare
on,
at the
watch
camera
it.
if you want.
I know, that's the problem, I don't want to do that. Thank you, guys.
At the end of the day.
Chief Campbell?
You can discuss cases, but I don't
Yeah,
feel-
you're gonna need to talk to pages. Taken care of.
Taking care of business. Huh?
Is it Google Maps?
Yes.
It's got squirrels and circles around it.
Been to the line down under.
TV.
No.
Good evening, chief.
How are you?
Good.
How are we doing?
So, rumors have come to fruition and been proven true. We will have a full-time opening in the fire department. So I am looking to request permission to make a posting for a full-time firefighter, with the, annual salary as listed into what I believe you all have here. Offer 2 different pay grades, essentially for 2 different positions as listed at the top, between advancing to potential hiring a paramedic. So the higher pay range would be for the paramedic, and the lower pay would be for the advancing to. And the salary works out to, for the lower range would be $19.94 for the advanced, and hourly and $21.79 hourly for a paramedic.
So it's 1 step down and 1 step up in comparison to what the current position is budgeted.
Actually, it's 2 up. 2 up.
Firefighter 2.
But the
The medic would be this number here.
Correct, the medic would be the higher number, and the advanced would be the lower number. So basically, there's the pay range, it says, we're looking at a 4,000 difference, but it's basically two separate pay ranges. So the lower number or the higher number,
Are
basically.
we doing 42 hours a week?
42 and a half.
42 an hour.
Yep, and that's what it comes out to, annualized at those hourly wages.
And what are we currently at? Do we know the number?
The individual that we're replacing right now is currently at $20.54 an hour. So a new employee would be coming in one pay grade underneath what we're currently paying, and if that person is a medic, they'd be actually coming in 2 pay grades above is what I'm requesting. And that's, the reason being is the amount of money that a paramedic can bring in for this town and the service provided, what they can bring in versus what we're gonna save, the cost savings for, having to pay out for extra ALS, things like that.
Because they're billable, right?
Exactly.
Just the training.
I'm sorry?
Just the having a person trained coming in, that we don't have to train them from the medic.
Exactly.
Because what would medical school cost the town?
It's roughly around $11,000 to send someone to medic school, and that's probably about almost a 2-year period that we're looking at to do that.
I'll move the job as written.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
If you can play an application, you could get plenty of people for that.
I hope so.
Is the money all right at that, is that level we're asking?
I think it is. I think it's reasonable, for the community that we have, and like I discussed with Karen, because of the community that we're in, we're always gonna be a revolving door of sorts, and my goal is to try and at least slow that door down as much as possible. I think there's always potential we could find a candidate that could be a long-term candidate for us, and that would be absolutely fantastic. We'd love to see that. But I think this is.
There's nobody that works there now that's eligible? Are there any of the firefighters that work there?
As part of the part-time staff?
Yeah.
I don't believe any of them have currently meet the list of being on the state entrance exam
Oh, okay.
right now. So, but this would allow us to take lateral transfers as well from other departments
Oh,
to
okay.
come in.
And you could put it in the Brentwood newsletter, because it's not too late yet.
His application, he's looking to accept them through the end of August. So the next one's going out for the first week of September.
Oh, okay.
Because potential, the opening will have, the other offer for the other individual has a start date of September 10th. So we're trying to jump ahead of this as quick as possible and get this out there so we can have as small a gap as possible without having that open shift.
Daphne's good on putting stuff on Facebook, so maybe ask Daphne to.
Oh, yeah, she's good at posting, on
Yeah,
Facebook.
our plan is to post it on our website and our Facebook page. I'm going to get it up to the academy as well as up to the Seacoast Chiefs, have them post it, and ask Karen if she can run the municipal site tomorrow. On the national
okay.
tomorrow, so
Yep.
my postings
PD can do
will
that
have to do
Facebook
that
page too.
Thursday.
And did you want to touch base about
3 ponds?
3 ponds? From Jason?
Changing some street,
Concern, changing the names?
Sure, we can talk about that.
Have you touched base with him at all on this, or?
I have, in fact, I was the one that kind of initiated it. And the reason being, I don't have it in front of me, the main street going in, so from the fire department perspective, the main street going in, is just that, it's the main street, so it makes sense to, keep it as such. So instead of, what we had right now, this is 3 Ponds Drive coming up out to Middle Road here, 3 Ponds Drive coming up, and at this 90-degree turn, where it's basically going to be dead-ended for a potential future, that short drive is going to be, is it Tenant?
It's Tuck Drive.
Tuck Drive.
Tuck Drive, with 1 resident on it. From a numbering perspective, and even as far as, dispatch perspective for PD, for fire, for anything else, it's going to be tough to, where's Tuck Drive in relation to anything else to have 1 resident on it. Another issue that we noted was we've got 2 addresses within 150 feet of each other with number 1 on it, which again could be confusing, middle of the night, anything else for emergency responders out there. Our only initial request was that we wanted all these individual side roads to have their own names. instead of the one and the numbering that we had. So essentially what we'd ask is the continuation of this number, which I think was 25, so this would end up being, that number 1 tuck would end up being number 27. 27, 3 Ponds Drive. We'd just like to see this continue on or reduce the possibility of confusion.
So
We
you
don't
just
care
wanna
what the
change
other
the
names
number?
are.
You just wanna change the number?
Well, instead of having this tuck drive, this will continue on as 3 Ponds Drive.
So Tuck Drive would be eliminated.
At least in the main drag. If they want to put it somewhere else in there, one of the side streets, that's fine. I know there's Water's Edge was another one that sits right around the bend, right around here. There's another one, or this one here, whatever they want to do. Just from a standpoint of confusion and anything else, this is the main drag that goes into, and all the other side roads come off this. So for confusion,
So what if but that's gonna be for potential expansion in that
Right.
area, right?
exactly. So 3 Ponds Drive could still continue in. Again, part of the issue was, again, we've got number 1 and number 1 within 150 feet of each other.
No, the
For
owners are
two
gonna be on
separate
Sunset.
roads. So we have number 1 Tuck Drive and number 1 James, all within 150 feet of each other.
So we'll still have Tuck, it's just gonna be number 27 Tuck.
No, we'd have
No.
to,
No.
if you
No,
wanted
they wanna
tuck, we'd
get
have
rid
to
of tuck.
move tuck to a different.
Oh,
Tuck to a
Water's
different
Edge.
location, so we could take it
Oh.
on Water's Edge or wherever you wanted to. But we wanna keep, we propose to keep the main drag as 3 Ponds Drive.
And so any,
Joe's okay if you wanted to take Water's Edge out and rename that tuck, he's fine with that.
And we'll keep that.
Okay.
I would just like to see the whole plan to see if it makes sense, what the chief's talking about, cause that little,
It's hard to follow.
Right.
why
It
did
is-
they
it is
call
on
it,
this.
is it Tuck Circle or
It is Tuck Drive,
Tuck Drive?
James
Yeah.
Circle, Tuck Drive.
But essentially it's just at
Just at a weird
proposed
spot.
90-degree, yeah. I mean, the road essentially continues on. You'll have, as this sits right here, you'll have a stop sign coming off of James. And you'll probably end up requiring one on Tuck
So
Drive
that's
at that
basically,
intersection.
so the current Tuck Drive that's there is basically a driveway.
It's basically just this little section right here with one home on it. Again, within 150 feet of number 1 on James.
Renumber it 5.
Goes to that too.
yeah, it still wouldn't.
Then it offsets the balance.
You wanna
of-
keep numbers
Yeah,
in a,
I wanna
You should have
just,
a whole map to
Yeah.
look at it.
Otherwise we run into the same situation we did at 19 and a half.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
so in other words,
That was one of our issues.
Joe,
That was one of our issues, is we wanted, they had the numbers going, starting on one side and going
I
up
remember
continuously,
that,
and then coming all the way back down, so you have number 1 and number 78 opposite each
so
other.
if we took and changed the name Water Edge to Tuck, that would solve the problem.
Well then, yeah, you're still just getting rid of one.
Yeah, we're just eliminating just that little piece of Tuck, I mean,
So
Tuck could
Tuck
be
just
somewhere
becomes
else.
another road, yeah.
Exactly.
And then you would have this numbered as,
27 or whatever.
27 3 Ponds Drive. From an emergency response standpoint between PD and fire and everything else, it would be much clearer for us to have that.
yeah, it actually makes it look like just a little driveway, huh?
well, no, because this whole thing from
That whole road, you know.
from here down is tuck, but this is the only house.
Right. This is all, but this could be future.
There it is, she has the map.
This little stretch here.
Yeah, and again, looks like it's 3 Ponds, it doesn't, it's like the same road.
Yeah, I would agree that it's the same road.
And he's okay with renaming this one Tuck if you wanna
Okay,
take
so
Tuck.
we won't lose its that name, we just move it over there.
Yeah, just move it over,
I agree with that.
So is this where we're,
So this is what we're talking about is, this is all 3 Ponds up until here, and then it turns into Tuck Drive. And then you have one house. So this should all be 3 Pond Drive, because it's the main road.
And that circle,
And then all roads
this
off
is
of.
James Circle,
Right, and this, right now is Water's Edge, and we can change that back to Tuck.
and this is for potential future back there.
Right. But it would just make sense that the main road continues on and all side streets are off the main road. In my opinion.
Yeah.
It looks better when you look at it like that. There's like,
No.
On that, it doesn't look like it would make
Right,
a
but
difference,
does on
but when
that
you
we
look
can
at
go
that,
ahead.
it,
I would make a motion just to change Water's Edge to Tuck.
that's one little piece right here, see?
and continue,
That's it.
and continue Three Ponds.
And
for the-
continue Three Ponds.
So Three Ponds would continue on.
This is
and
James here, and that was tucked, that little piece right there.
And then if there's a second phase
So
of
they make this all
development.
He can always name that Water's Edge if he wants later on.
And that's actually potentially phase
Tuck is
3.
and that could become tuck over there.
This could be.
They won't leave that sunset, because that's where the folks are gonna live.
I'll second that, second Phyllis's motion.
All in favor?
All in
So
favor?
we're looking to rename Water's Edge or
Yeah.
just-
Water's
Just rename
Edge.
Water's Edge
Tuck.
And rename Tuck to Three Ponds.
to keep.
and eliminate Water's Edge altogether?
Yes,
Right,
Yeah, makes sense.
and the developer's fine with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
okay.
That's from the future. And you never know who's gonna show up when you get a call.
Aye.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Anything else, Chief?
Good. How about the concern about some of the debris? What do you guys got going on with the debris on the side?
It was just along some of the old timers, the old tribal elders seem to think that potentially the business that's to us, so 421 may be possibly encroaching on town property with that. So we just kind of wanted to basically make sure, they seem to think that they are, that they've always kind of pushed the envelope on this one. So I figured maybe we just make sure that the property lines are exactly where they are, because he's got a lot of stuff, a lot of materials right now that are being built up
Okay.
over there, that there's sitting piles that are probably like almost 20 feet high.
We did ask Kip to go over there, so
Okay.
we'll check that out and kind of go from there.
And then I actually do have, thankfully for Karen,
Can we
I
do
have
this?
one other thing.
FYI, a training program this winter,
So when's the training program?
these weeks.
No, I mean, when are, like, where are you gonna have it?
The New Hampshire Fire Academy is sponsoring it.
Is it gonna be here?
No,
He's
no.
going.
I go there. It's a pro board certified fire investigator
I'm looking for his guys too,
program.
because we talked about the team building.
That's an 80-something hour
Okay.
certified program. So we're still working on. There's progress being
I
made.
got many things in my head right
in
now.
that.
One of them isn't coffee.
I know, I'm smelling it though. I'm smelling the coffee, I'll be having a lot of it later on tonight. Alright, and we talked about, just kind of for the board, we talked about maybe doing some type of team building stuff, so, with the fire department and Austin House, I like that idea of having like a community thing over there, so. Just to get them more engaged, especially with the public. So, something for everyone to kind of think in the back of their head if they have any other ideas that they might want to funnel over to the chief. The sooner we get it done or moving, that process will be better. So, and you're gonna be gone pretty much those days, so we'll have to try to figure out when we can get that in there.
We are still making forward progress on all those, and other avenues have been, we've got forward progress making.
Good. And how are the newbies?
So far so good. The living is in there. He's day 2. We've got the second part-timer had day 1 today. So trying to get some extra gear, find out where I can get some stuff. We've got some odd sizes. Apparently we had some larger individuals. We are hiring some thinner individuals these days. So, I'm trying to reach out to see if I can kind of get some stuff off the shelf if possible, just to save the money. I think one of them I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet on, which isn't a big deal because it would be a typical size that I have size. So
Helmets, stuff like that.
in the process,
Yeah.
one
Specific
PO
color.
versus numerous with lots of shipping and stuff. It's
Okay.
cheaper.
Chiefs Association do like a message board or anything that maybe other departments have gear that they want to sell that's like still in certification date? I don't.
They do. They don't. Most often you'll see, because it's about $2,700 just for a set of Colton pants.
Right.
So when it goes out of date, or when someone leaves or whatever, they'll kind of keep it and just reuse it. It's a 10-year shelf life according to NFPA. When that happens, like what I do is I keep it and I send the firefighters to fire school in that gear before I give them newer stuff.
Makes sense.
In a lot of places, it comes down to a liability issue. So a lot of places, they're not even giving to like the third world countries anymore because they're saying it's a liability. When I was in the training division national, I threw out probably 20-something sets of gear. They said just cut it and put it in the dumpster because they would not give it away. Out of a liability issue. So yeah. So if I can do that, and again, it's going to be more of a practical size for people. So depending on the longevity of this individual, whatever.
I'm surprised they couldn't repurpose it.
Lobbyists. Lobbyists, they want to do everything for helmets, gloves, everything. I mean, even helmets, even plastic helmets, they want a 10-year shelf life on everything. There's gear sitting in our back room right now from Nashua that's never been opened, but is not NFPA compliant because it's over 10 years old. So that's kind of the stuff. If it's someone, I give it to them to go to training in.
And they leave it.
Okay.
Who still wants money?
Yeah, I got one last item. So
No.
we did look at the vehicle. I had the vehicle serviced, and it came up to what was it, $1,390.
Is that the car?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rear axle seal, transmission lines, a bunch of other stuff. And I had it priced out for just a very basic outfit to basically fill in the holes that were already existing. And stuff, just to make it a very simple vehicle. We came up with a price on that for $29 some change. So I was looking to see if the board would authorize up to $3,000 out of impact fees, the fire department impact fees. Basically, just it's a very low profile vehicle. Lights fill in the holes and a siren package. And
Put a seal on the door.
Yeah, it's got the town seal on it.
Oh, that's already okay.
Yeah, we're not going undercover with it.
Okay. Go. You're gonna put a fire department on us, we know who it is?
Yep.
This is one of my new favorite questions. Is it $3,000 worth spending on it? Or is it
According to
something...
Advanced Auto or Ultimate Auto, they said the vehicle will be around and it's in good shape. Because that was my thing was, I'm not going to invest money in something that they're going to tell me a year or two that they're not going to spec it anymore. He looked at it and said, yeah, these are a little bit of issues we addressed everything at the time.
What's the mileage on it?
90 something,
Could have got 100 then.
I believe.
And will we give the chief up to $3,000 in impact fees?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Yay, you got your money.
Thank you very much. That's all I want.
Anything else, Karen?
Unless Karen has something else.
All right, chief.
Thank you very much, I appreciate your time.
Good night.
Notes?
Yeah.
Notes, we're on the notes.
You want to host a shred day in conjunction with the drug take-back day.
I'm the one that brought this up. I like to try it.
Drug take-back was huge.
Drug take-back's a huge thing.
Right.
And everybody has stuff that needs to be shredded, and identity theft has got to be the biggest hazard to our community other than drugs, and we got to do both the same day. My question is can we find $1,000?
Still.
Don't we have money in that account?
Conflict is the boo bash, huh?
Well, that would be that evening, so I guess it's sort of deciding whether or not that would draw people in here and then push them to the library, or...
Well, 10 to 1's really not.
I mean, it's,
Because their event is sort of an evening event.
right.
I don't think it would make a difference, because I think
I
the
think it
people
could.
coming to the town,
Yeah, get them
I
down
don't think
together.
it's the same.
And that would be free to town residents.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would have to, some places you can only bring like so much, so
Yeah.
we'd have to see how much,
If
they have a limit.
they tell us, they would tell us.
Yeah.
We've got $1,000 in miscellaneous contracts. There's and 300 left in town events. That's the same budget. So bottom line budget, that would work out fine. And put in town events.
We don't have anything else coming up that we're aware of?
No. No, not like that.
And we still have 2 months before,
To decide.
almost 3 months before we have to do it. Can you see how much advance notice New England record retention needs?
And then I guess just
And you
checking
wanted
if there's any tipping fees and stuff that go along with that too.
Right.
Like what are the unknowns? Like
And
$1,000, but
3 hours instead of 4, right? Just do 10 to 1.
Yeah, because I wouldn't do it any earlier than they're running
The DEA.
the DEA event, because that wouldn't make any sense.
and then I guess it's just a matter of what other fees would they have in there besides that? Like,
Any
you know,
limitations?
It might just be we shred it, and then you guys have to figure out how to get rid of it. Well, then
Well, no,
Well,
if they do
they'll-
it big
they'll-
blocks,
They'll take it away, I'm sure.
it's like a big industrial shredder that blows into a bucket.
Okay. Alright, so that takes care of that aspect. Peter Foster mentioned at last meeting to start a fund of replanting tree. We
They
establish
have
a
to
fund.
vote to spend the money, did you vote to spend the money?
Oh,
Well, no, he
Voted
didn't give
to-
any money. He was just curious if that's something that the board would be interested in doing.
The top one we just put off, because we
Oh.
still have a couple months.
They don't have to know before,
That's
No,
what she's
we
gonna
just
check.
gotta do the research and then come back before us.
okay.
He mentioned, could establish a fund, Board of Selectmen to put forth on or petition, could accept the donation into conservation fund and then ask them if they could oversee the replanting. Thoughts?
I would do it in conservation.
I would agree with that, that's my thought.
When we replant trees, when we're doing any kind of construction in town, is that the idea of that?
I think the idea of it is if we're doing a reclamation process like what's going on Prescott Road, that they would go back through and plant trees for the ones that we take out. So like the elderly trees that are like all the hemlocks and stuff that we're taking out, like right now we're gonna take out 2, so if you take out 2, you have to go back to.
So this would be like on any construction project we do from now on, that would we would replace trees?
I think his focus was mostly on just the scenic roads.
Just,
Yeah.
okay.
But I mean, that's something that the conservation committee could
Make some guidelines for.
make the guidelines on how the money's spent and accept.
Do it up to your people, Phil, for the next meeting.
Tomorrow night.
Wednesday.
If it's around there.
Alright,
Get to see Rob tomorrow night then.
so
Sure, you'll be
conservation
able
for
to.
that?
Yes.
Isn't it Jeff?
Mileage
Oh,
rate.
Jeff, that's right.
So you want me to ask the conservation
Yeah,
committee,
they'd be
If
interested.
they'd be interested in
setting up a
tackling
fund?
that process where they're responsible to
Okay,
say, yeah, we have a fund, we have to move this thing over there. Let's
Start
record
over.
it, your house sake.
When it went
We
out
have to
an
start
hour
over?
ago, nice.
Battery died?
An hour ago.
We have to start over?
Chuck has got it on, anything,
Oh,
well, he's got it over there, we're good.
You can watch YouTube.
You too?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Do you have access?
The firewall's working.
Alright, so.
Iris mileage,
For half a cent, can't
Half
we
a
just eat
cent.
that for half a
Yeah,
cent?
it's
I
up
mean,
to you.
54, I mean,
No, 54 is fine.
I know, yeah,
The
half a
state's
cent.
paying less,
What's the state paying?
44.
Really?
Is it really?
Why?
I think so.
So we giving you that?
Well, maybe it's not the state, maybe it's contract.
Maybe it's a contract
Might be
because on the
contract,
state
yeah.
website it says.
I'll check on it and let you know next week.
We're cutting it by 10 cents.
No, I realize that maybe it's not the state that's
documents,
Documents. Our firewall has
Died.
died.
Oh,
Oh,
New firewall, 268268. You authorize that expense out of the capital reserve for IT hardware.
so moved.
gotta have it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
wow.
Man.
Ouch.
Gotcha.
What caused that, do we know?
We don't know.
How
It
old
went
is it?
down
Yeah.
Friday. It was due to be replaced, I think we replaced it 2 years ago, so it was,
Wow.
should have lasted for 3 more years. So
Yeah.
we'll double check the warranties and all of that
Yeah,
before we
that's
purchase.
Yeah,
Who did we get it from last time? Was it-
Wednesday.
No, this
There was
is
a lightning strike around here the other day, it's probably.
It's probably that, right?
Probably an insurance thing. Yeah, let's get a claim on that.
Just be careful if they do say it is, because I know a
Friday.
couple of equipment specialists that'll come in here and tell you what it is.
2600,000? Still fighting?
Sure.
Don't you know people?
I don't know, you saw what I was just looking at today, you really think I care about that?
John Bell has drafted a letter to DOT further explaining the depth and the slope that they're looking for the amendment. So he is requesting that the board sign this letter.
And this is
He shall submit
going to Jim
DOT.
Hewitt?
Yes.
Okay. I had a talk with Jim Hewitt the other day because he talked to Wayne and he wanted to talk to somebody from the board and he explained he needed it in writing.
And this was reference to his proposal
Yeah,
of
with the slope.
To
starting at the peak and then working the way down.
and then taking out those two trees, which we still gotta go before them, but this is kind of
2 trees or 3 trees?
2 trees.
2 trees.
2 trees.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? They're also changing it from 90 feet to 75 feet, so it's a shorter.
Hawkers and peddlers permit, I still need to get PD approval, but contingent on that, we have one person from Comcast that would like to solicit one day, Monday through Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All passes.
Did they say what they're hawking?
Comcast.
Well, they're probably losing a lot of
They
people.
probably are, yeah.
I think they're losing a ton of people.
People buying that.
The dishes and doing
Actually, it's just
the
a
road
road
and
too,
road
isn't it?
crews and
We're
that.
supposed to go to you and them today.
Oh.
The problem is Comcast is the only internet in town.
That's how they get you. Because you cancel cable and then they charge you double for internet.
They control the internet.
Yeah, I don't have cable, but I have
Yeah, because they're the only internet game in town.
Yeah, well, you had, what was it, somebody brought in fiber optics.
Yes.
I thought they
Didn't
were
make it through Brentwood.
Didn't make it.
Oh,
I thought they were
sorry.
talking about that.
I saw you.
Verizon before
That's why I
was
should've
Fios,
gone.
Fios.
Now you're-
and now Consolidated Communications, but
Sorry,
that just
go
made it,
back.
Epping never made it up Brentwood. Brentwood doesn't even have,
I broke
the phone company's version of
I won't let that happen.
Oh, yeah, that, yeah,
Oh, the voice, whatever it is.
yeah.
Adamson's was an invoice for $2,415.30, and that was to equip the old K9 cruiser. And so the chief is looking for permission to pay that out of the detail fund.
Look at to equip on that. And then leave stuff in it, they just.
well, they probably.
So I think they took out what they could, single LED ghost light, an exterior mount of a mirror, single LED blue window, install radio. You probably know what these things mean more than I do.
I have the page.
Oh, that's right there.
That's all I know.
Oh, have my hand on, good to see
Sorry,
that.
sorry. I should have pointed that out.
Yeah, well, there's no sticker that's gonna be able to sign.
There's sufficient funds in the detail fund. Once we paid the general fund back, it came to, there's like 20,000 in there.
So this guy just for details, all right? That's what we kept it. No.
Yeah.
Did they rip all the equipment out of it before they asked us to keep it? Because this looks like a total outfitting of a
Yeah,
car.
that's what it looks like, it
Transferred
sounds
what they
like.
could to the new cruiser.
But if they
We
wanted
keep
to
that separate.
keep it, I don't know.
We can hang on to it. The chief's on the agenda for the 21st.
Now we have 7 cruises now.
This is basically a total outfit of the car.
Yeah, so I'm saying
Lights
it's
and
a sound
radio
device.
and,
And we still have that new Denali we just got too, that we're gonna have to put
well,
something onto it.
Yep.
Doesn't have the police package, so the suspension's not really,
right, it's not a patrol vehicle.
but you're still gonna have to label it, right?
Could be a detail vehicle.
So we should have on that.
This-
Land use change tax
You wanna see that?
for Wilson Way,
Have it. Oh, yeah, that's right, that's right. Oh, yeah, never mind.
$74,750. Here's the bill. This is the warrant.
So moved on both.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Wilson Wood.
We have to sign both.
So it's the site plan, so we're taking the whole thing out at once.
That's all I want.
Jimmy shut them.
Quick creative applied for an abatement, and Jim has reviewed his application, and he says that the documentation provided does not illustrate the properties that are comparable to the subject property, so he recommends denying the application. He
So
doesn't think
moved.
there's enough.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
It's your
I'm
second.
gonna second it because no one else is responding, so. Second.
You've lost control.
I don't know, just start
Good
screaming.
deal, you paid your 75 cents, that was good.
I paid a buck.
Did you? Okay,
Give an
good.
extra quarter. It was really late.
BOS policy, you guys read it? You good?
Which policy?
Your meeting policy?
Oh,
Do you wanna approve the amendment?
What do we change?
It was deleting that one line saying that you were gonna meet at 4 o'clock.
Oh,
yeah.
4 o'clock.
Change
So
that.
moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
That's all over that.
Yes.
And everyone saw the letter in the mail from Hartman.
Yes.
What was that for?
Yeah.
Just for gasoline?
That was for oil. So oil through Buxton is gonna be $264 locked in, and Hartman could do it for $255.
Mm-hmm. I'm good. I'm good with that one.
3,000. So all the fuel, oil, gas, and diesel will be through Hartman.
From now on.
Makes sense.
Right now.
Because it's going to Dead River though, right? From Buxton.
From Buxton goes to Dead River. So I contacted the new owners there, Claudette, to see what they could do, and the best price she could do is $260.
Really?
Wow.
Can we just make sure we have something that they don't forget?
And we cancel.
It's considerably less than what I got locked in.
I know, me too.
How long is that locked in for?
Through the end of May,
Okay, next to,
and then we'll keep it on auto delivery through the summer.
and then we'll know where all the fill-ups are then, right? We'll have like the oil. when
That's
the
right,
gas-
just saying.
Yeah, and the gas thing, we have no gas. What happens down through welfare, the same thing, they still use Buxton, or they still don't use them now?
They use Hartman a lot of the
Oh, they do, okay.
Mhm.
But they-
Yeah,
use
she
that
has
then.
a private fund through Indy Hartman that she does a lot. Thursday I have school this week. Next week I'm on vacation. Carolyn will be here for a short while Thursday. She's gonna float in next week, check payroll, and make sure all of that's squared away. And sailing back off to retirement.
Good deal.
You
What,
did,
who's retiring?
Carolyn.
Carolyn again.
Carolyn.
Yeah.
Well, she came back to help out.
She's
Yeah,
looking, she's
So
looking
she's still
forward to it.
available while she's.
Yeah.
what is
She
it?
is, but she's
can
ready to
still
go
be called
this
out every
time.
time.
She's ready,
She's ready to go this
go.
time.
I think she's done.
I missed it while the chief was here, but was he interested in the new person signing a contract, or?
I think potentially. I think potentially he's looking to go that route. And I looked because the dollar amount seemed,
I'm not sure if I can get you one.
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Well, the dollar amount was dependent on how much was spent on gear. and
right,
everything.
and it's comparable to the dollar amount that's associated with a 3-year contract for an officer they sent to police standards and training. So I guess that was already vetted through Chester Fire and Chester's legal counsel. So we could sort of
Can you-
modify it for a template and then send it up.
Maybe give a call over to Chester and say,
How they work.
well, have you vetted it and what did your,
The notes and all that.
yeah.
Is the town gonna put out anything about Prescott Road so people know what's going on?
Well, we gotta wait for the planning board hearing first, too, right?
I mean, cause there's been a lot of stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, they gotta,
Started today.
the
Huh?
planning
Started
board
today.
Yeah.
That goes with.
Oh, okay.
has to make the decision on those
Kennedy
trees,
kind
too.
of put on there that, hey,
Oh, I didn't,
not much can happen until
After the hearing.
the planning board looks at the trees and the state amends the
And what's
permit.
school start the 29th, right?
Yeah, but
Yes.
because it's,
So they give you 2 weeks.
because it's scenic road, you gotta wait for, you gotta
Right,
post the
that's it.
hearing, then you have to have the
Right.
hearing. And then you gotta wait for the state to do
It's
the
gonna be
modification.
So they get cut, so if it approves, they could cut the trees on the 17th, and that gives them 1 week to do that and pave that.
It's gonna be close.
Yeah. A lot of washing out over there too, the older part up by East, I mean, that's where they graded that, the trees are so close, they graded it, the water just comes right down the road, you can see what's all washing out. It's not a good drainage thing with that little section there. From the top of the hill down by.
That gonna get fixed though. when they-
Well, there's no tree, you got no room with the trees there, I mean, you couldn't, I mean, it looks like it's gonna walk, when it rains, it's gonna run right down the side of the road.
Is that where the 2 trees that they wanna remove?
No, it's further down,
Down
down the gully.
On the
Trees are
closed
top, aren't
section,
Didn't it?
It's closed already, there's more cars on it, and it's closed.
Yeah, and I know I've had a lot of people reach out and ask me what's going on over there too, and I'm like, it's, the process with the trees has to go through the planning board, so until that hearing's open.
Okay.
Because who knows what's gonna happen at the hearing, I don't know.
That's true.
They said if they don't want, if they vote not to do the trees, we'll have Chester have to what? So we're trying to blast more, I don't know.
Did they already break up the,
I think they did whatever they could with the show.
Yeah, no, he did it with the excavator,
oh, is that what he?
he scratched it all up.
Because if they broke down all the way, then it would just become a hazard, because it's gotta go all the way down that
Oh,
North Road.
right.
Still gotta
He's
go
trying to
down
move over that
5 feet, 5, 6
Move over
feet.
to
Yeah, you
Right.
don't wanna hold it.
It'll save us some cost by moving it over 5 feet, so. But, that's what that letter was to send to the state, to basically say that
Right.
we're looking for your approval if we can do this, so.
But they wonder in the water underneath the road while it was dug up, I don't know what's gonna happen or not, from the tower to Great Pond. Well, they'd have to dig it up again.
They have, well,
Well, that's
If we let 'em.
that's a state thing too,
No,
right?
I gotta go across Prescott Road, coming from the tower, they're gonna go, come across Prescott, then cross North Road, go over to North Road, so then run it up the stone wall there into the back side.
wouldn't it make more sense to do it while we still have the?
Well, he had asked about doing that, I don't know what happened then.
Well, they, instead of coming off the water tower, they could technically come off the main at the nursing home already on that
It's
same
just come
side
right
of the
down,
street.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I could do that too.
Cause they shouldn't really be,
It won't have any adverse impact on the nursing home, I wouldn't think.
They'd probably have to shut the water off for.
Well, for just, yeah, but that
quick
would be,
blip.
I know they had asked about doing it while the road was dug up, or digging. I don't know what happened.
We've had plenty of opportunity, it's well dug up.
Yeah, it's been sitting there dug up for a
Oh,
while.
I know, that's what I'm saying, nothing's moving there.
So,
I have a update on, speaking of wells, I had an incident to go by the Elliots today.
I saw them putting their well in.
Well, where they are now is that well that they put in the front's 900 feet down, they don't have a pump. So they're not sure.
So they're still using water from the
They're
center?
using their well, filling up. So far it's been okay. The well.
Their old one.
That one, it didn't work now. Yeah, we're supposed to have somebody come by today or tomorrow to put a pump on the new well. But
900 feet down.
yeah, they were there for 3 days.
I hope they
So
have
I hope
contract
that
prices.
works, but, you know, that kind of.
Public comment?
What?
Comments?
Yes, I have one. Have you advised the Wilson family of the road so they could be presented with a sign?
Wilson,
Who? Did they do
Wilson who?
Tuck,
Oh, Wilson
Oh.
Way? Oh.
James is not a family.
Everybody forgot about Wilson Way, you just mentioned it 5 minutes ago.
I thought that was done when you were here.
It was not done.
Oh, I didn't know that, wow. I'm glad you brought that to our attention now.
Wow.
Oh, what about the, Boston Post cane?
Nobody submitted anything.
Really?
We can give it to Ken.
Well, I could use it.
Cause I know Mrs. Shuffleton is,
She's gonna be there, yeah. She'll be
yeah.
95, right? She's gonna be there.
Well, she was 94 when I was. in
Okay,
the
so maybe
clerk's
she's
office.
97.
She might be 96 or 97.
How old's,
Maybe something. I think Mary Shuffle was.
I had a
Mary's
list one
here. I
time,
think
Mary
Mary-
was the next one that I had, because, Gagnon, I think, did she move or die, I forget. But I know Shuffleton.
it's kind of morbid.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Ken.
See ya.
We're the Bentons. We had just come to find out about the Prescott Road project. We live on Mink Run right off of Prescott Road, and I stopped using an alternate road and started just using Prescott Road because I realized nothing was happening. So it was just we came for curiosity just to see, and you just discussed it. It sounds like there's a lot of permitting involved, and
It has to stay closed basically until all this gets worked out, right?
Right, because what happens is, and I had actually talked to the highway department about if they posted it and said, you know, just pass at your own risk, and they said actually they legally have to post road closed because if you pass and something happens to your vehicle, the road is closed, so you're responsible for that. You're literally passing at your own risk. If I put pass at your own risk and something happens, Town is actually might be liable for it. So
You
we
have
have
the
to,
opportunity to.
because we said you can go down that road. So by saying road closed, it will stay road closed until they finish the project.
But the idea is that still that it will probably be a T rather than a Y.
Oh, yeah.
At
Yeah,
the end.
and
That's-
and the reason that we had to, and I talked to the state, is because we're recommending a scaled down version to kind of try to save the trees that are there.
Is that fun?
And by doing that, they're going to change it from a 90-foot
Right.
width to a 75-foot width. The reason the state wants clarification on that is because their reasoning for the 90-foot is if a tractor trailer is coming out of there, they don't want one wheel to leave the roadway. So it has to stay on the paved surface. And that was their purpose for having a 90-foot. So we might have to put up, depending on what the state tells us, we might have to put a sign that says no trucks or whatever.
It's already through trucking.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
and
they
because
could
it's a
come
scenic
in and-
road, we're gonna be restricted on what we can do anyway.
But the truck could come down Middle Road, correct, if they needed to, so it just can't come
It's
down the road.
75 down that side, but the state's okay with that over there.
That's interesting.
They
Okay.
want 90-foot on this side.
Interesting.
I don't ask why.
It might also be related to the larger fire apparatus. I'm not sure that's gonna be able to.
And it could be because of the water tower too, yeah, you never know.
That's true.
Well, with that area washing out, as you had mentioned, in between those trees, is that going to affect the integrity of the road down the?
Eventually.
Yeah,
But
eventually
have they
it'll
not
wash
done
out.
the shoulders yet?
They did some, I mean, but it's not done, that's the part that's not really done. They
It's
did
an
grade it
unfinished
in.
part, yeah.
Yeah, and but it's washing, when it's come down from Biggs and stuff, when it comes down that way, it's washing. There's no where for it to go, it's right.
Right.
It's right beside it, it needed to have a little swale or something in it.
Right.
It was all gonna be filled in, but it didn't.
And with because it's a scenic road, we have to post the hearing for the planning board, take down 2 trees. So,
Where are the 2 trees that you're talking about?
I think they marked them, didn't they?
They're up by the, in the beginning,
Top
as
of the
you,
hill, right?
yeah, when you go up to the hill, right across from the water tower, there's 2 before the first driveway, they get orange,
Oh.
but they're bigger than 16 inches in circumference, so
Oh.
they can't be touched unless we go through a public hearing to the scenic.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
them 2 trees are keeping us from having it done, but.
And when's the next hearing? about
16th of August, 7
Okay.
o'clock, right here.
Okay, great. So would it be a better idea to put a couple of sawhorses rather than just one that we can all get around? If it's a liability to the town, I
Well,
doubt
it's not a
people-
liability because we said road closed.
Right.
So as soon as you
Oh,
drive
Oh,
on
because
it,
you said,
It's
okay,
our
I
liability.
misunderstood.
that's
Oh, gotcha.
all you.
That's the beauty of it.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, well,
Probably
thank you
should
very
explain
much.
to
All right,
Larry
thank-
what's washing
Yeah.
out.
Good deal. Anything else?
Thank you.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're done.